or we hear about them in a story. The Kio of your papa, they visited and sang for him. In Legazpi, her mother is telling the story about two orioles that came to sing for her father. He's oblivious to her all. He is dying. They roosted there. She points to the neighbor's tree across the house. Nenita looks out from the window of her parents' bedroom that's now a mini hospital. Yes, the golden shower tree. It bursts into deep yellow flowers every summer, like the color of orioles. When he was still well, your papa would sit on the porch and wait for the couple to visit and sing. Her mother knows orioles travel with their mate. Sometimes we'd sit together and wait for them in the back garden, their favorite spot on the coconut tree. Ay, the brightest yellow among the green fronds. Then she whispers to him through the tubes and monitors. They visited you yesterday. They know you love their song. And grasps his hand, as if it could be sung again by touch. Kikiaw, kikiaw. How they worded their song. Kiaw. How her father nicknamed the pair. It's this memory that makes Nenita think of the kindness of birds 5 months after he died. As the thought sneaks in, 2 Rosellas fly up the cedar outside their Canberra apartment. Between the Philippines and Australia, flight of birds with flight of thought. Memory is migratory. One bird recalls another, then another. Serendipity, resonance, magic. We are here too. Do not forget us. In a time of death in the family, we could forget that there are others, not in our human world, dying at an exponential rate. Birds, they're here too. Orioles comforted my dying father in Legazpi, and Rosellas comforted me in Canberra. So I wrote The Kindness of Birds, a collection of short stories about kindness across cultures and between the human and the non-human world in times of emergency. Climate change, COVID, war, death and illness in the family. In these crises, we are always with birds. I'm between the call of the crow and the trill of the wee bill. I'm between the rush of the O and the hush of the still. Ilayog, ilayog ang puso sa luha kang nguso. Ilayog, ilayog ang puso sa luha kang nguso. The Bicol refrain from that song whose text I wrote means, fly, fly the heart, catch with the mouth. Writing The Kindness of Birds, I began paying close attention to birds, and my heart took flight with them. And I had to catch that flight with my mouth by telling the story about being with birds, so they're not forgotten. In this time of climate change, to save birds, we need to save them first from being forgotten. How? Reframe thinking and storytelling. Ditch our belief that the non-human world exists to serve us, humans. Think evolution. Birds are in fact avian dinosaurs, and we are all descended from those extraordinary creatures from deep time. So, birds are really our kapwa ibon. The Filipino social value of kapwa must be planetary if we are to co-survive in this planet. Co-survival. This should be the primary story of our times. Avian-human kinship, from memorializing to conservation. This was the thesis that he proposed for a PhD, but it's really Lola Paela's thesis. When we were growing up on the volcano, each time a bird flew past, Lola Paela would say, "That's great-grandfather or great-aunt." And when a bird sang, she'd say, "Listen well, children, it's telling you a story." Then we'd try to learn the song because if we know them in our bodies, we won't forget them. We can sing them back if they start flying away. So our Nuno, our ancestor, will always be with us. I think it's her lesson in avian-human kinship and memorializing that can be valuable in conservation. It's really about language. Birdsong, a story, then Lola Paela copies birdsong to call them back so they don't disappear. It's incantation, like a magic spell. So storytelling is incantation too. In that story, Singing Back, Andres explains how his grandmother inspired his PhD. Singing Back is also about the punyalada, the bleeding heart dove, which can be found in Mayon volcano, that's famous for the legend of Princess Daragang Magayon, who gets killed and her grave grows into a volcano. But Lola Paela invents another legend, how the punyalada got its wounded breast, and she weaves it with the legend of Mayon. In her invention, the dove Punay attends to the dying princess. When the spear hit Daragang Magayon on the breast, quickly Punay opened her wings and flew to her, and held her to her breast, and sang to her like she was a baby about to fall asleep. She sang until the princess finally closed her eyes. That, children, was how Punay got the red on her white breast, like she's wounded too. She became known as Punyalada, she who was wounded by a dagger. And she still lives on the mountain to this day. She's still guarding her great-great-great-granddaughter, keeping her safe. Birds keep us safe. Birds are keepers of the balance and health of the planet. They gift us joy, wonder, comfort. But we've never treated birds particularly well. To train a falcon in Qatar, owners sew the young bird's eyes shut, unstitching then restitching them for longer intervals until it is entirely dependent on its keeper. In Asia, the appetite for caged songbirds is so great that their calls are disappearing from its forests. Our careless acceptance that these extraordinary creatures are subject to our will is perhaps as damning as any direct mistreatment of them. So, Being with birds is not enough for co-survival. Becoming with birds is what's crucial. Becoming means evolving in how we care for the non-human world. My father died in 2018, then my mother in 2019. Birds comforted me. The journalist Catherine, who interviewed me about the kindness of birds, told me about how birds comforted her too when her 10-year-old son, Tom, died. Tom adored owls. When he died, owls appeared, including a broken owl that her husband found on the road and rescued. It was eventually healed and set free. I couldn't get over that broken owl. Then I saw a video of a baby owl, an owlet, with a broken beak being repaired by a vet. I began writing the poem, Owl Unbroken, wishing to unbreak that owl's body as one would unbreak a mother's or a little boy's heart. Co-survival. If you repair the beak, the owl can sing and can call again to its mother. So, instead of a poem, I wrote a song. This is Owl Unbroken for Catherine and Tom. Here's my shoulder splayed, but a feather's glistening on the grass unmade. But the earth is listening, so mother, do not weep, for I am only sleeping with a storm on a wing and the sun that is waking. Here's my beak slightly dented, but my eyes all seeing that the leaves have departed, but the air's now clearing. So mother, do not weep, for I am only sleeping with a fall on a wing and the flight in the offing. On my shoulder, your shoulder, my feather, your charm, with the grass the beholder of the lift in our arms. So mother, do not weep, for I am only sleeping with a wound on a wing and the secret of mending. As we soar, how we soar, bedraggled but loosened, on one note then another. Oh, what bliss of ascent! Oh, what bliss of ascent!